As always, Hedera keeps pumping out great news. We had a foundation-backed staking play and what appears to be a bullish executive order coming from the Biden administration. In this week's update, we also discussed Elon Musk, the first meme coin on Hedera, and much more. So let's get into it. To have a little fun around the Elon Musk speculation, we managed to get a hold of Paul Madsen, a former Hedera executive who is now with the social marketplace Galaxy. Of course, that's built on Hedera. Thanks for coming by, Paul.
Hey, Brandon. I was never an executive at Hedera. I can already hear Christian objecting to that characterization.
Leadership. We'll call it leadership.
Fair enough.
All right. So to be clear, you're not here in any official capacity, and nothing should be taken as fact here. We're just playing around. But with that said, there's been all kinds of speculation around Elon Musk tweeting the HBAR symbol. Are you on Team Planck's constant, the Saturn symbol, or do you think he had Hedera in mind when he made that tweet?
I try not to get into Elon's mind, just like he tries not to get into mine. I can't imagine it's anything other than our symbol, right? Like he has a history of crypto manipulation, shall we say? So he's not subtle about his crypto interests. Mm-hmm. So I hope and would believe that the HBAR was what it appeared to be.
I think so too. I mean, there was a few things that day that seemed like it was around crypto, so it would kind of make sense and go with his little theme.
Yeah.
All right. So the reason I reached out is because you put out a cheeky tweet today highlighting a SpaceX HTS token. Now, of course, anyone can mint a token with any name. And from what I understand, it's pretty clear this had nothing to do with the real SpaceX. But how will we know when it's the real deal?
Yeah, I as you say, I cheeky tweeted the idea that this was a real SpaceX. I mean, I think it was LED.HBAR that originally tweeted out the link to Dragonglass, and there's that initial moment of excitement saying, yes, maybe. But then you look at the supply and you look at the history of transactions. And I think we should all recognize that whenever a large enterprise eventually puts out a token on Hedera, we're not going to see it in Dragonglass first, right? There's going to be a buildup, right? That's kind of part of the frustration of waiting for all these the enterprise council members to start actually putting out transactions. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear from the start that this wasn't SpaceX, but so I joked about the idea that it was a token from a spa manufacturer or something. I think the community saw it for what it was, which is good.
Yeah, no, I think it's fun, and we're having fun with all of it. But either way, thanks for coming on and having a bit of fun with us around what might be an exciting topic in the future.
One point, Brandon. What I do think it does highlight, this whole small fiasco, is the importance and value of being able to bind real identity, whether enterprise or human, to a token, right? Because that's the ultimate challenge here, right? A token that purports to be SpaceX, but actually isn't. And that challenge is very real for Galaxy, right? Where we're going to have creators minting and creating tokens. And those are only valuable if a fan of those creators can be confident that they're authentic, right? Yeah. So we have plans for making those identities trusted. And that would have been useful in this context too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, I'm going to talk to Solo next week. We're going to have a quick interview and introduction. And hopefully as soon as you guys hit some of your milestones, we can get you guys back and do a longer form interview.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Brandon. All right. Thank you, Paul.
I read the full executive order on digital currencies that the Biden administration issued. Who knows what's written between the lines, but on the surface, it appears that we're moving in the direction of regulatory clarity that we've been hoping for, and a very positive development for Hedera. A White House statement said, "The rise of digital assets creates an opportunity to reinforce American leadership in the global financial system and at the technological frontier, but also has substantial implications for consumer protection, financial stability, national security, and climate risk. The United States must maintain technological leadership in this rapidly growing space, supporting innovation while mitigating the risks for consumers, businesses, the broader financial system, and the climate. That is why today, President Biden will sign an executive order outlining the first ever whole-of-government approach to addressing the risks and harnessing the potential benefits of digital assets and their underlying technology. The executive order had significant focus on a U.S. CBDC, highlighted by this excerpt. Sovereign money is at the core of a well-functioning financial system, macroeconomic stability policies, and economic growth. My administration places the highest urgency on research and development efforts into the potential design and development options of a U.S. CBDC. A U.S. CBDC that is interoperable with CBDCs issued by other monetary authorities could facilitate faster and lower-cost cross-border payments and potentially boost economic growth. The news we covered on MTech last week shows the pole position Hedera is in when it comes to CBDCs. In addition to CBDCs, there were other research reports requested from various departments and agencies within the year. One assigned to the Departments of Treasury and Labor said, "The report shall address the conditions that would drive mass adoption of different types of digital assets, and the risks and opportunities such growth might present to United States consumers, investors, and businesses, including a focus on how technological innovation may impact these efforts." With 2 independent research studies with authors from the University College London and the University of Singapore that found that Hedera is the most efficient, thus environmentally friendly platform, this next part of the executive order should bode well for Hedera. The Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy shall submit a report to the President on the connections between distributed ledger technology and short, medium, and long-term economic and energy transitions. The potential for these technologies to impede or advance efforts to tackle climate change at home and abroad, and the impacts these technologies have on the environment. The report requested also included potential uses of blockchain that could support monitoring or mitigating technologies to climate impacts, such as exchanging of liabilities for greenhouse gas emissions, water, and other natural or environmental assets, which is right up Dovu's alley. It also requested implications for energy policy, including as it relates to grid management and reliability, energy efficiency incentives and standards, and sources of energy supply. In case you're wondering why I'm highlighting this particular request, here's a quick clip from Power Transitions, also built on Hedera.
We're incredibly dependent on electricity in every aspect of our lives. I don't think we understand how vulnerable that makes us.
There's a massive concentration of energy sources. I mean, from power stations, purchasing energy from foreign countries. It's very hard to predict the cost of the future of energy. Renewable energy microgrids provides societal, environmental, and financial incentives for individuals and the communities they live in to control and manage their energy.
I had a concept of looking at rooftop energy production from housing associations, individual houses and businesses. You could use the combined generation along with battery storage, then trade energy between the individual buildings.
The UK's national power grid has a problem essentially. It was designed for one-directional delivery of power from centralised generation to local consumption. But these days, with homes like the ones we're building, where you've got decentralised generation, power needs to move in 2 directions, with the grid and with other homes.
All microgrid technology developers will eventually run up against the same problems if they're using traditional blockchain technologies to manage their microgrids. There simply isn't enough bandwidth to do the number of transactions needed, and the amount of energy required for those transactions will get to a point where you're negating the energy benefit from running a microgrid.
Hedera is the only platform we've come across that can cope with the volume of transactions that need to take place. These are split-second transactions that are happening thousands of times to enable that local generation to be fed into a system that wasn't designed for it in the first place.
Each home is going to generate electricity and it's going to be tokenized and stored in the Hedera virtual wallets. And from that point, homeowners are at liberty to trade peer-to-peer with other members of the Hedera network.
Governments had a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to cryptocurrencies and the technology behind it. But our product using Hedera specializes in structured data reporting. We have 2 database architectures, and the analytics are extracted automatically from these databases. They provide tailored reports for various types of stakeholders. Government regulators require structured data reporting, and we could provide it for them directly, automatically.
This project is about mass empowerment and democratization of energy. By the implementation of microgrids and using Hedera Hashgraph, what we're able to do is give something back to the people that use the energy, wherever they may be in the world.
I guess it goes without saying, but the environmental focus of the executive order is massively bullish for the Hedera network and the environmental use cases built upon it. The order highlights many of Hedera's strengths in technological innovation, environmental efficiency, regulatory compliance, and while there are provisions that need to be monitored closely, they were to be expected, and I couldn't be much happier with Hedera's stance in relation to this order.
So I've gotten a lot of questions around Shibar from the community, and it's always best to go right to the source. So we asked the team to come on and give us their story firsthand. Welcome, guys.
Hi, thank you very much for having us.
Hello, thanks for being there.
My pleasure. So to start off, tell us about Shibar and why you decided to build a meme coin on Hedera.
So everything started quite a few months ago, about 6 months ago. Me and Tomac, which are been friends for like 10 years, we loved the Hedera approach and the fact like the way Elon built the Hashgraph algorithm and everything. And for quite a while, we've been watching the space and seeing that like nothing was coming up. Nothing particular besides Hedera itself, HBAR, into the space. So we decided to take the matter into our own hands and started to create this meme DAO, to be more precise. And so we started to build that. And what we're doing is basically do a meme DAO where you are able to do DeFi without smart contracts. And to do that, since nobody thinks it can be done, but actually, like if you go back into Lemon's videos, he always used to say you don't really need smart contracts to do any kind of cryptocurrency building project, such as DeFi, for example. And as a matter of fact, we're proving his point by deploying our innovating technology called smart nodes, where it's kind of similar to smart contracts in a way, but instead of deploying our custom function to the Ethereum virtual machine, which is like a giant computer where you host the code in the blockchain, we would basically create our own smart nodes where the code is deployed into images and can be decentralized through using several different computing machines at the same time to make sure that a certain state of immutability is achieved. And this is actually what Hedera is doing at the same time, because if you dive deeper into the data network technology, they're using so-called Docker images, which are almost like they're pretty much like immutable images that can also be updated with a certain consensus. And we believe that this can be a great game changing for the data ecosystem, especially in just a different way of doing smart contracts in general.
So it sounds like what you're building is a lot more than a meme. Can you go into some more detail around how Shibar works into this DAO?
Yeah, Tomac, if you would like to take over this question.
Yeah, sure. I can handle that. That's my turn, basically. Well, there's lots of things going on under the hood. As my friend says, it's like it's a meme coin on the surface, and underneath it we've got lots of technology underground going on. Basically, the main approach is to follow the Hedera path. So we are fully decentralized, and we heavily rely on Hedera consensus service and Hedera files service in such a way that we basically don't need any smart contract to support us in that. Everything started with the I don't know when this was, but there was maybe a year ago or something like that, where Dr. Lemon was doing an interview, and he said that basically any network can build on top of Hedera without the use of smart contract. So we just took that as a big challenge for us, and we just dive ourselves deep into the code. And actually, he's right. It's something that you can really do. So the powerful of Shibar as a token is that we have a really good idea about what things that can be done on top of that technology. And basically main goals here are that we're going to run our own DEX, so a fully decentralized exchange would be really our first step. And then we would love to allow anybody to just create token with a really super easy UI. So you might be able to create your own token using our smart node engine, And by doing so, you will be able to create your own liquidity pool and just go for a swap. So our main goal for the first year is to allow everybody to easily create a token, provide a supply, do an ICO if needed, and then create a liquidity pool and open the exchanges for swaps. That's like our very, very first step. We are pretty close to it. And then, yeah, clearly as a product, it can offer a lot because any enterprise can even buy the smart node engine and ask us to fully customize that for their own need. Or eventually we might also want to go open source at a certain point, and this would guarantee that any developer can create like any extension as a plugin. So instead of keep on writing smart contracts, which are very limited in terms of memories and performances, as everybody knows, they will be able to just decide the size of the smart node network they want to create, how much money they want to spend in terms of computer resources. And they will be able to just plug in any kind of business logic behind that. So it's very like easy to extend and to customize it for their own needs, basically.
Wow. I mean, a meme coin certainly makes sense on Hedera, with the super low fees. I know that economies have built around meme coins, whether it's charity, whether it's gratuity, things like that. And to have $50 fees doesn't make a lot of sense. But like you said, I mean, there's a lot under the hood here. This is way more than just a meme. I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. Before I let you go, do you have any final thoughts?
Actually, yeah, I wanted to add something that before we started raising funds, we actually created the multi-signature treasury. And if you check us out, you can see like public all the treasury committees who hold the keys, how many are they, and the threshold that they hold. So like the funds, we try to keep funds decentralized as safe the way. So if you wanted to pull any funds out, whether maybe for marketing or development, speed ups and anything like that, we would have to have a consensus of the treasury first. And there are a few well-known names on the ecosystem that are part of our treasury committee as well.
Yeah, so just like anything else, anybody that wants to get involved needs to do their own research, but it certainly sounds like you guys are on the right track. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
There was a tweet from HBAR Price this week that caused some confusion. He has done some research into the source of Hedera's transactions, and some were surprised to hear that the vast majority come from just a few sources. It was noted that some of these transaction generators were tied to Hedera itself or received funding from Hedera. Now, it shouldn't be a surprise that the majority of the transactions on the Hedera network come from the ad fraud mitigation platform AdStacks that we have mentioned many times in the past. What some might not know is AdStacks and others like vaccine tracking startup Everywhere may receive HBAR support or funding from Hedera. This also shouldn't be news. The Hedera treasury has always been dedicated to building the network, and I can't think of a better way than to support promising use cases building on the network. I love that the community does this kind of deep dive into Hedera. That said, I think the way it was presented can cause confusion. Many other platforms do truly nefarious things attempting to make their stats look better. Hedera's not one of them. The research taken in isolation without the context of similar research done on other platforms paints the wrong picture in my opinion. Some head scratching around these tweets is understandable. First, many other communities wouldn't do this level of digging. I'm certainly impressed with the research and appreciate the efforts. But second, if similar research was done by another community, it would likely be presented in a positive light. Granted, Hedera may have more transactions, but I think it's hard to argue with the statement that Bitcoin and Ethereum are generally more used than Hedera. But these are really the only two that I can think of that can make this claim. Bitcoin is a completely different animal, and while I am impressed with the Ethereum network, it has what may be insurmountable on-chain scaling issues. I know that there's a place for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other networks, but I have no doubt that Hedera's out-of-the-box speed, scalability, security, and efficiency have a massive role to play as well. Though arguments can be made for Bitcoin and Ethereum, Hedera's claims of being the most used are valid as well. The majority of their transactions come from value-add use cases that are supporting industries outside of crypto, regardless of if they're being subsidized. This is pretty unique in the DLT industry, and let's not forget that Bitcoin and Ethereum also subsidize their networks. I do think this research and information will serve as a nice backdrop as additional large-scale use cases come online in the near future. As mentioned, we had some really exciting news that came out this week that included the HBAR Foundation supporting staking on Stater. We did a deep dive interview into this announcement with Stater and Elaine from the HBAR Foundation, where we learned that the foundation is focused on ensuring that there are competitive returns for HBAR holders. We also had a great talk with Julian Kwan from InvestaX, discussing his platform tackling multi-trillion-dollar markets by tokenizing securities. Next week, we already have Dovu lined up to discuss some exciting developments on their platform, as well as the environmental focus of the executive order. Solo, the chief operating officer and founder of Galaxy, and the HBAR Foundation is back to discuss their sustainability fund that was covered by Seeking Alpha, CoinDesk, and Cointelegraph. Considering the continued pressure in the broader markets due to geopolitical issues, crypto and HBAR are doing pretty well. The equity markets are down a few percent on the week, whereas HBAR is flat, again sitting between 20 and 21 cents. In addition to the support at about 19 cents we noted the past couple weeks, it looks like we might be building some support at 20 cents as well. And I'll play the broken record, we will still be looking at resistance at about 26 cents if we break out. I think now's a good time to zoom out a bit though. The weekly chart looks pretty bullish. We've had two major breakouts after making a definitive low at 1 cent. The first saw a spike to 8 cents and eventually created strong support at about 3 cents. The second breakout happened a year after the first, initially seeing HBAR break above 40 cents and made another run that pushed us past a $0.50. And just like last year, it appears as if we're establishing some pretty strong support within the range we're currently sitting. So again, if we just zoom out a bit, the chart looks pretty good. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and give us a like, sub, and comment if you appreciate this content.